What if the life you're living isn't actually yours? Look around. How much of what defines you did you consciously choose, and how much was simply written into your script by society? In this video, we're bringing together two brilliant minds who never met but shared a profound understanding of human nature: Naval Ravikant and Carl Jung. Their combined wisdom offers a map for escaping the confines of unconscious living and reclaiming your authentic self. If you've ever felt that something essential is missing from your life, despite external success, this exploration will help you rewrite your story on your own terms. Living someone else's life, the unconscious prison. What if the career path you've spent years pursuing isn't actually what you want? What if that promotion you've been chasing, that house in the suburbs you've been saving for, or even the relationship dynamic you've accepted as normal? What if none of these are truly your desires? This isn't just a philosophical question, it's a troubling reality many of us face without even realizing it. Think about the major decisions that have shaped your life. Your college major, your career field, your relationship patterns. How many of these choices came from a deep, authentic knowing within yourself? And how many came from external expectations? For most of us, the uncomfortable truth is that we're living according to scripts we never consciously chose. From childhood, we're guided along predetermined paths: good grades, respectable college, stable job, career advancement, partner, house, children, all by society's appropriate ages. We internalize these milestones so completely that we rarely question their alignment with our true nature, instead measuring our worth by how well we keep pace with this invisible timeline. Naval Ravikant describes this phenomenon as mimetic desire, wanting things because others tell us they're desirable. Most of what we want, he explains, we want because other people tell us it's good and that we should want it. This concept directly complements Carl Jung's notion of the persona, the social mask we wear to meet external expectations. As Jung warned, the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. Together, these concepts explain why we pursue promotions our colleagues compete for, buy luxury cars our neighbors admire, and choose lifestyles that signal success rather than bring genuine joy. Consider Sarah, a successful attorney who reached her firm's partnership track by age 35, achieving everything her parents and peers defined as success. Yet each morning brought increasing dread until panic attacks forced her to confront a painful truth. She'd been living someone else's dream. Her prestigious career, while impressive to others, had left her profoundly empty. The consequences of borrowed desires are evident everywhere. Social media showcases curated experiences chosen for validation rather than fulfillment. People pursue prestigious careers despite lacking passion for these fields. Friends follow relationship templates that leave them trapped rather than fulfilled. This unconscious script following has created a silent epidemic of emptiness. A 2022 Gallup poll found that 60% of professionals feel emotionally detached at work, with 19% actively miserable. Midlife crises represent profound existential awakenings. Burnout, diagnosed in nearly 77% of professionals, stems from pouring energy into pursuits that don't nourish our souls. The emotional cost is devastating. You achieve everything you thought you wanted, yet still feel a nagging emptiness. Success feels hollow. You experience mysterious anxiety despite having nothing to complain about. These aren't signs of failure, but your authentic self sending distress signals from beneath layers of conditioning. That voice asking, "Is this all there is?" isn't ingratitude. It's the first whisper of awakening. This quiet dissatisfaction is an invitation to examine the unconscious patterns governing your choices. What makes this situation particularly insidious is how normal it seems. Society celebrates those who follow the script well while subtly punishing deviation. As Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are," recognizing how rare it is for people to break free from collective programming. Naval reinforces this. To make an original contribution, you have to be irrationally obsessed with something and have insights that others don't have. And that's not going to happen if you're following the conventional path. These thinkers, separated by a century, identified the same fundamental human problem. Most people live unconsciously according to desires and identities they didn't choose. This isn't a modern problem, it's a timeless human challenge. The specific scripts change across eras and cultures, but adopting external values rather than discovering internal ones appears to be a constant in human experience. The prison isn't built with physical bars, but with invisible assumptions embedded in our thinking. Your career is the most important thing. Success means continuous advancement. Happiness comes from achievement. These aren't universal truths. They're cultural narratives we've absorbed without questioning. The first step toward freedom is recognizing these unconscious scripts. As Naval puts it, the moment you realize that you're playing the wrong game, that's when your life actually starts. Jung similarly observed, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The awakening. Recognizing your conditioning. The awakening happens in the most inconvenient moments. That promotion you worked 60-hour weeks for finally comes through, but instead of elation, you feel strangely hollow. Or perhaps you've checked off another milestone on your life's roadmap, the dream house, the perfect partner, the ideal vacation, only to find yourself wondering, is this really it? These moments of disconnect aren't signs of failure or ungratefulness. They're actually the first authentic whispers of your true self breaking through. When these unsettling feelings arise, pay attention. That emptiness after achieving what you thought you wanted isn't a mistake. It's a message. What you're experiencing is what Jung called the call, the moment when your unconscious mind begins to communicate with you. It's trying to tell you something important. The life you've been building might not actually be yours. Consider Sarah, who stood amid applause at her executive promotion party, champagne in hand, yet felt completely disconnected from the celebration. Despite achieving everything on her career checklist, she felt like an imposter in her own success story. This precise moment, when achievement meets emptiness, marks the beginning of awakening. The awakening creates a profound identity crisis. If the desires driving your actions weren't truly yours, then who are you actually? The question can feel terrifying. You've spent years constructing a life based on what you thought you wanted, only to discover that these wants were unconsciously borrowed from parents, peers, and societal expectations. This realization leaves you in an uncomfortable limbo, no longer satisfied with your unconscious programming, but not yet clear on what authentically matters to you. Jung understood this crisis intimately. His concept of the call describes these moments when the unconscious communicates through various channels, recurring dreams with unusual intensity, inexplicable dissatisfaction with objectively perfect circumstances, or meaningful coincidences pointing towards something demanding attention. Naval Ravikant complements this understanding with his emphasis on questioning everything you've been taught. True awakening begins when you critically examine your own desires, Naval explains. Which ambitions truly belong to you versus those implanted by parents, peers, media, or cultural messaging? This questioning becomes your foundation for breaking free from conditioning. Both thinkers emphasize solitude and quiet reflection as the first practical step toward freedom. In our hyper-connected world, intentional silence becomes revolutionary. Naval practices meditation and journaling to hear his own thoughts. Jung similarly valued withdrawal from social influence, allowing authentic impulses to surface without judgment. These awakening patterns appear throughout life. The promising career suddenly feels suffocating. The perfect relationship leaves you feeling unseen. Achievements deliver only fleeting satisfaction. Each disappointment provides valuable data about what doesn't align with your authentic self. Career paths often trigger the most powerful awakenings. Like Michael, who woke one ordinary Tuesday with the sudden clarity that his prestigious legal career, chosen for stability and parental approval, had never truly engaged him. Despite his corner office and impressive salary, he found himself envying artists and writers who seemed genuinely connected to their work. This recognition isn't immaturity. It's an important signal that unconscious values differ from conscious choices. Relationships provide another awakening ground. The partner who checks all boxes but leaves you feeling empty. The impressive social circle that doesn't nourish you. The draining family dynamics you've accepted as normal. Each disconnection reveals the gap between authentic needs and externally driven choices. How do you transform recognition into action? Naval suggests a daily reflection practice. Regularly question your reactions and choices to identify their genuine sources. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I think I should want to? Does this choice energize or deplete me? These questions separate authentic desires from programming. Jung's method of active imagination serves a similar purpose, creating dialogue with typically ignored parts of yourself through journaling or art. During her morning journaling session, Eleanor discovered patterns of people-pleasing that had shaped her major life decisions, a realization that became her first step toward authentic choices. These practices work through simplicity and accessibility, just paper, pen, and commitment to regular self-inquiry. They break the automatic nature of conditioned responses, creating space between stimulus and reaction, where authentic choice becomes possible. The awakening process isn't comfortable. You'll likely experience resistance internally and externally. Friends may question why you're challenging a seemingly successful life. Family might interpret your awakening as rejection of their values. Your mind will rationalize maintaining the status quo. This resistance is normal. It's the protective mechanisms of both social systems and your psyche attempting to maintain stability. The shadow work, facing what you've rejected. The darkest corners of your mind hold unexpected treasures. That rejected anger you've buried, the ambition you've downplayed, or the vulnerability you've hidden. These are untapped resources waiting to fuel your authentic self. While we've explored how societal expectations shape our conscious choices, there's something deeper happening beneath the surface. Imagine your psyche as an ancient map, with X marking hidden treasures in unexplored territory. This is where Jung's concept of the shadow becomes crucial to understanding your full potential. The shadow represents the complete collection of qualities you've rejected or disowned because they conflict with who you believe you should be. Jung discovered that these disowned aspects don't disappear when rejected. Instead, they operate behind the scenes, often sabotaging your conscious intentions. That perfectionism keeping you from starting projects. It might stem from creativity you've suppressed, the people-pleasing exhausting you. Perhaps it's masking authentic assertiveness you were taught to hide. What makes the shadow powerful is that it contains both positive and negative qualities. The parts of yourself you've pushed away often hold tremendous energy and potential. A person raised to be unfailingly polite might have buried their capacity for healthy confrontation. Someone taught that ambition is selfish might have disconnected from their natural drive and purpose. These disowned qualities appear in your life through projection. When you harshly judge someone's behavior, like a co-worker's anger during meetings, you're likely encountering your own shadow. Jung recognized that we see in others what we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. That colleague's expression of frustration might mirror your own unexpressed emotions that you were taught to suppress since childhood. Naval Ravikant's philosophy of radical self-acceptance directly addresses this shadow work. He emphasizes that denying aspects of ourselves consumes tremendous mental energy that could be directed toward creativity and authentic living. When you constantly police your thoughts and emotions, suppressing what doesn't fit your ideal self-image, you create internal division that drains your vitality. The conditioning that creates your shadow often begins early in life. Cultural expectations, family dynamics, and societal norms all shape which qualities you learn to suppress. Traditional gender roles provide clear examples. Men discouraged from expressing vulnerability, women taught to downplay ambition or anger. Your family system likely reinforced these patterns. Perhaps expressing anger wasn't tolerated, so you learned to suppress it. Maybe your natural creativity was dismissed as impractical, so you buried it. The process of reclaiming these disowned parts isn't comfortable. Consider Sarah, who always prided herself on being rational and composed. When a colleague received praise for work similar to hers, she felt intense resentment but immediately suppressed it, believing anger was inappropriate. Only later, through reflection, did she recognize this as her disowned competitive nature-seeking expression. Acknowledging this aspect of herself, despite the discomfort and shame it initially triggered, eventually allowed her to channel that energy into authentic ambition rather than resentment. As Jung stated, the saving factor is the symbol, which embraces both conscious and unconscious and unites them. When you reclaim rejected aspects of yourself, you release enormous energy previously spent on suppression. Creative blocks dissolve, relationships deepen, and you access a more complete sense of who you are. Look for your shadow in your dreams, slips of the tongue, and emotional reactions. Notice when your response seems disproportionate to the situation. That intensity often signals a shadow element. Pay attention to qualities you adamantly deny having, as these denials frequently point to disowned aspects of yourself. The integration process isn't about acting out every impulse. It's about acknowledging these parts with curiosity rather than judgment. What if your perfectionism could become healthy excellence? What if your people-pleasing tendencies could evolve into genuine compassion that doesn't sacrifice your needs? When you stop projecting your disowned qualities onto others, relationships transform. You develop greater empathy as you recognize the shared human experience of wrestling with conflicting aspects of self. This work liberates you from limiting societal expectations, allowing you to access a more complete range of human expression. What happens when you reclaim these rejected parts? The energy previously spent on suppression becomes available for authentic living. Creativity flourishes when you stop censoring yourself. Decision-making clarifies when you're not fighting against your own nature. Relationships deepen as you bring your whole self to them rather than just the acceptable parts. Conscious iteration, becoming your own experiment. The liberation of reclaiming your rejected parts unlocks something transformative. Energy that was once consumed by suppression now becomes fuel for authentic living. But this newfound freedom raises a crucial question. What's next? Most people immediately search for a new system to follow, unwittingly trading one form of external guidance for another. What if there's a more powerful approach hiding in plain sight? Naval Ravikant offers a profound distinction that changes everything: the difference between iteration and repetition. While they might seem similar on the surface, they represent entirely different relationships with growth. Repetition means doing the same thing repeatedly, often mindlessly. You might gain some skill through practice, but your growth quickly plateaus. Iteration, however, is conscious experimentation, where each attempt incorporates feedback and learning from the previous round. This distinction represents the fundamental difference between stagnation and authentic growth. Iteration transforms your life into a series of meaningful experiments rather than a predetermined path. Each choice becomes an opportunity to learn about yourself and gather data about what truly resonates with your authentic desires. Think about sculpting a masterpiece. Repetition would be making the same chisel stroke over and over, perhaps deepening a single groove, but never revealing the full form. Iteration, however, means studying what each strike revealed, adjusting your angle, and choosing the next stroke based on what you've learned, gradually bringing the true form into existence. Think about the last major decision you made. Did you approach it as a one-and-done choice you had to get perfectly right? Or did you see it as one experiment in an ongoing series where the outcome provides valuable information for your next move? The iterative mindset removes the paralyzing pressure of perfectionism and replaces it with the freedom of experimentation. Jung's concept of individuation parallels this iterative approach. Jung described individuation as an ongoing dialogue between the conscious and unconscious mind, a continuous process of integration that generates experiences of wholeness. Unlike philosophies presenting enlightenment as a static end state, Jung emphasized that individuation is never fully completed. It's a lifelong journey of becoming yourself through constant dialogue between different aspects of your psyche. Both thinkers recognize that true growth emerges from treating your life as an ongoing experiment where you are both the scientist and the subject. This approach contrasts with how most people pursue personal development, constantly searching for the perfect system or guru to follow. In career development, iteration might look like Sarah, who tried 3 different roles within her marketing field. Rather than following a traditional upward path, she paid close attention to which projects energized her. She discovered her passion was in creative strategy rather than management. Despite the higher prestige of executive positions, each role became an experiment, yielding data about her unique talents and passions, eventually leading her to create a position that hadn't previously existed in her company. In relationships, iteration might mean consciously exploring different ways of connecting with others, noticing which interactions leave you feeling whole and which leave you feeling diminished. Rather than forcing yourself into prescribed relationship models, you design connections, honoring both your need for autonomy and desire for closeness. This approach moves you from theory to embodied understanding. You're experiencing authenticity directly through experimentation and feedback. As Naval puts it, the number of iterations drives the learning curve. Each experiment builds your capacity to discern what's truly aligned with your authentic self. How do you distinguish between authentic desires and societal programming as you iterate? Both Naval and Jung offer similar frameworks despite working in different eras. They suggest paying attention to physical sensations, emotional resonance, and energy levels. When considering a choice, notice: does your body relax or tense? Does the prospect energize or deplete you? These visceral responses often reveal authentic desires before rationalization. Naval's decision-making principle states, if you cannot decide, the answer is no. This acknowledges that authentic desires usually come with clear energetic signals, while decisions we try to talk ourselves into often stem from external expectations. The beauty of iteration is that it doesn't require perfect self-knowledge before beginning. You simply need enough awareness to design meaningful experiments and enough presence to notice their results. Each iteration brings you closer to understanding what truly matters to you and what kind of life aligns with your authentic nature. This process requires courage, the courage to step away from prescribed paths, to try things that might not work, and to continuously question your assumptions. It means embracing uncertainty as a feature of the journey rather than a bug to be eliminated. Beyond conventional success, finding your own definition. Option 3 captures the essence of what we need to explore next. The willingness to adjust course as you learn is powerful, but it raises a fundamental question about direction. What if the destination that society has programmed you to pursue isn't actually where you want to go? The metrics of conventional success, wealth, status, power, seem objective and universal, yet both Naval and Jung observed that people who reach these heights often feel like they've climbed the wrong mountain. This disconnect between achievement and fulfillment is remarkably common. Consider Sarah, a Fortune 500 executive who confessed to her therapist that despite her corner office and seven-figure salary, she feels like an imposter who somehow tricked everyone. Or Michael, the tech founder who built a billion-dollar company but battles persistent emptiness when the cameras aren't rolling. These aren't anomalies, but illustrations of a widespread pattern. Naval Ravikant addresses this paradox by drawing a crucial distinction between wealth and money. For Naval, money is simply a medium of exchange, while true wealth represents something far more valuable: assets that generate income even when you're not actively working. This perspective shifts our understanding of success from accumulating currency to building systems that work for you, creating freedom to control your time and choices. It's about escaping the traditional labor-for-money model that keeps so many trapped in cycles of unfulfilling work. But Naval goes deeper, suggesting that even financial wealth is hollow without internal richness. His philosophy places higher value on internal metrics than external validation. The truly wealthy life, he notes, encompasses financial abundance, meaningful connections with others, and the courage to live authentically. When you're chasing status symbols or approval, you're fundamentally living someone else's definition of success. Jung arrives at similar conclusions through his concept of the persona, the social mask we wear, which becomes particularly dangerous when we mistake it for our authentic self. Many high achievers identify so completely with their professional accomplishments that they lose touch with who they really are beneath these external markers. Recent Gallup polls show that over 60% of professionals report feeling disconnected from their work despite outward success, highlighting the widespread nature of this phenomenon. Jung's skepticism about conventional happiness is particularly revealing. We often don't actually know what would make us happy, despite what society tells us to pursue. His prescription for a fulfilling life included satisfactory work and a philosophic or religious point of view capable of coping successfully with the vicissitudes of life. These metrics are deeply personal and internal, rather than measurable by others. Both thinkers advocate for developing personal metrics of success that prioritize internal states over external validation. Naval defines happiness as the state where nothing is missing, emphasizing that true happiness comes from within, not from achievements or acquisitions. This aligns with Jung's perspective that happiness emerges not from pursuing external pleasures, but from developing the capacity to adapt to life's challenges. What might these internal metrics look like in practice? Instead of measuring success by income level, perhaps you measure it by how many days you feel fully engaged in meaningful work. Rather than counting social media followers, you might count deep conversations with friends who truly know you. Instead of tracking promotions, you track moments of flow state or creative breakthrough. Naval suggests that by focusing on being authentic to yourself, you escape the stress of competition altogether, because no one can compete with you on being you. This is practical advice. By building something that's genuinely an extension of who you are, you find a unique niche that aligns with your values and talents. Jung's process of individuation offers a complementary framework. He saw this process as becoming more fully yourself by differentiating from collective values and consciously choosing the values by which you'll live. This isn't about rejecting society entirely, but about making conscious choices rather than unconsciously following norms. The path to creating personal metrics requires regular reflection on what truly energizes you versus what drains you, regardless of its external prestige. It means noticing when you're making choices to impress others rather than to satisfy your own values, and it requires the courage to adjust course when you realize you're pursuing goals that don't actually resonate with your authentic self. Jung's concept of the self, the totality of personality, and the archetype of order provides a compass for this journey. The self encompasses both consciousness and the unconscious, representing our life's goal and the most complete expression of our individuality. The aim is to divest ourselves of false wrappings, the persona, and connect with our authentic nature. Creating your personal mythology, the art of self-authorship. Option 2 speaks to the heart of what we're exploring next. As we shed our personas and connect with our authentic nature, we face the blank page of true potential. What happens when you stop being a character in someone else's narrative and become the author of your own life? This might be the most courageous creative endeavor you'll ever undertake. When we think about creativity, we typically imagine paintings, books, or inventions, tangible things we produce. But Jung proposed something far more revolutionary, that your life itself is your greatest creative work. Your personal mythology is a story you live, a unique symphony you compose with each decision and experience. Jung's concept of personal mythology represents an evolving narrative that emerges from your unique psyche. Unlike rigid belief systems, a personal mythology is dynamic and integrates both your conscious choices and unconscious elements. It emerges through living deliberately and paying attention to what resonates at your core. This concept provides something essential that many people lack today: meaning. When you become conscious of your own symbolic system, everyday experiences transform from random events into meaningful chapters in your unfolding story. This mythology becomes a framework for resilience too. The same difficulty can be crushing when viewed as random bad luck, or transformative when understood as part of your hero's journey, your unique path of growth and discovery. Consider the story of someone who leaves a prestigious corporate position to start a small business aligned with their values. From conventional perspectives, this appears as a backward step. Yet through the lens of personal mythology, it becomes a pivotal chapter in an authentic story. Choosing meaning over status, alignment over approval. This person isn't merely changing careers, they're reclaiming authorship of their life narrative. Naval's philosophy complements Jung's depth psychology through his emphasis on playing infinite games. While finite games have clear endpoints and winners, infinite games aim to perpetuate play and bring more players in. Escape competition through authenticity, Naval advises. Your unique combination of skills, interests, and values creates something that's an authentic extension of yourself. This authenticity becomes your competitive advantage in a world of conformity. This integration gives us both depth and direction. Jung offers insight into our unconscious motivations and archetypal patterns, while Naval provides practical frameworks for navigating life's complexities with intention. Together, they form a complete approach to authentic living. In practice, this might look like someone discovering they're living a people-pleaser narrative inherited from their family. Using Jung's perspective, they explore the deeper symbolic patterns shaping their behavior. With Naval's approach, they establish clear boundaries and renegotiate relationships with conscious awareness. The result is both insight and action, understanding paired with practical change. The individuation process Jung described involves integrating conscious and unconscious aspects of the self. It's about embodying your authentic story in your creative work, professional choices, and relationships. When your actions align with your personal mythology, you experience what psychologists call flow, that state of energized focus where action and awareness merge. Some might view this as impractical in a world demanding conformity, but Naval's perspective offers a counterpoint. In today's interconnected landscape, authenticity is strategically advantageous. The internet allows unique perspectives to create value and authentic voices to resonate across traditional boundaries. The challenging aspect of this journey is embracing uncertainty. When writing your own story, you step off predetermined paths. Jung recognized that meaningful personal mythologies emerge through dialogue between conscious intention and unconscious wisdom. This requires practices that bridge these realms: dream work, creative expression, or mindful reflection. Naval contributes to this process through his emphasis on clear thinking and conscious iteration. By questioning assumptions and testing ideas through direct experience, your personal mythology evolves based on lived reality rather than remaining fixed in abstract theory. What emerges from this synthesis is a life characterized by both meaning and effectiveness, navigating practical realities while maintaining connection to deeper wisdom. Like a master composer who understands both music theory and creative intuition, you create your unique life composition that expresses your authentic nature while resonating with others in unexpected ways. As we come to the end of our journey with Naval and Jung, one truth emerges: authenticity isn't found, it's forged. This path requires both Naval's practical philosophy of iteration and Jung's deep psychological insights into individuation. Together, they form a complete toolkit for discovering who you truly are. Your discomfort with conventional paths serves as your authentic self signaling for attention. The journey demands self-awareness, questioning societal norms, and continuous exploration. You're creating yourself with every choice, consciously or unconsciously. The question that matters most remains: will you author your own story with intention, or live as a character in someone else's narrative? Most people never realize it, but they're living someone else's life, wearing borrowed dreams, following inherited scripts, until one day, something doesn't feel right. That discomfort you feel, it's not failure. It's a message. A quiet call from your authentic self asking, is this really mine, or was this chosen for me? Carl Jung showed us that the path to wholeness begins with facing what's hidden. Naval Ravikant reminds us that the freedom we seek doesn't come from playing the game better. It comes from choosing a different game altogether. So here's the truth. Authenticity isn't found. It's forged, one honest choice at a time. You become real when you stop performing and start becoming. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are the author, and your pen is in your hand now. So ask yourself, what will you write next? Don't just wake up to yourself. Subscribe, because this is where your real story begins.